I get it, you're standing in the backyard, dreaming about that perfect weekend roast, but the thought of spending a few $100s on a grill that might end up gathering dust makes you hesitate. You've probably watched a dozen best grill videos, read a handful of forums, and maybe even asked a neighbor who's been smoking for years. The whole thing can feel like a gamble, especially when you know there are cheap electric smokers and pricey charcoal setups out there. I'm not here to push a brand, I'm here to help you decide if the Traeger Timberline 850 is the kind of tool that will actually sit on your patio and see regular use, or if it'll sit in the garage waiting for the next perfect occasion. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about the kind of cooking you're probably after. The Timberline 850 is a wood pellet grill and smoker rolled into one, which means you're not limited to one flavor profile. Want that low and slow pork shoulder that falls apart with a hint of hickory? Set the pellet hopper, choose the temperature on the Wi-Fi controller, and walk away. Need a quick sear on a steak after a day at work? Crank the heat up, let the stainless steel grates get hot, and you've got a charred exterior without the flare-ups you'd get from a traditional gas grill. That flexibility is the biggest practical strength of this machine. It can act as a smoker, a grill, and even a bake-roast station, all without you having to swap out equipment. Now, the real-world setup. When you unpack the Timberline 850, the first thing you notice is the 3 tiers of stainless steel grates. That's not just a marketing line, it actually means you can layer food for indirect cooking. I've seen people load a whole turkey on the top rack, a tray of vegetables on the middle, and a pan of beans on the bottom, all cooking at the same temperature without having to rotate anything. It's a time saver if you're feeding a crowd or trying to make a one-pan dinner. The downside? Those extra racks add weight and make the grill a bit bulkier to move around. If you have a small balcony or need to store it in a cramped shed, the footprint can become a hidden trade-off you didn't anticipate. The Wi-Fi controller is another practical point that separates this from older Traeger models. You download the app, connect to your home network, and you can set the temperature from your couch, your car, or even while you're at the grocery store picking up the right wood pellets. In real life, that means you can start a brisket early in the morning, set it to 225°F, and by the time you get home from work the meat is already well on its way. The app also sends alerts if the pellet hopper runs low, which saves you from the dreaded sudden temperature drop mid-smoke. The only weakness I've heard from owners is that the Wi-Fi can be finicky in houses with thick walls or spotty routers. If you live in a dead zone, you might end up relying on the manual dials, which defeats part of the convenience. Let's talk cost and value. The Timberline 850 sits in a higher price bracket than entry-level pellet grills, so you're paying for the larger cooking surface 850 skin and the tri-level grates. If you regularly entertain, do weekend projects, or simply love experimenting with different woods and cooking styles, the extra space pays off. You can grill a full rack of ribs on one level while smoking a whole fish on another, without crowding. On the flip side, if you're a solo eater or only fire it up a few times a year for burgers, you might find the larger surface underused. In that case, a smaller Traeger or even a more affordable pellet grill could give you the same core experience without the extra square footage you never truly need. Who should buy it? Think of anyone who wants a seitan forged experience without sacrificing flavor. Families that host backyard gatherings, hobbyist pitmasters who love to experiment with different woods, and people who want the convenience of remote temperature control will all find a home with the Timberline 850. It also makes sense for those who appreciate the consistency of pellet fuel, no charcoal ash, no propane refills, just a steady feed of wood pellets that deliver that smoky taste. Who should skip it? If you're on a tight budget, live in an apartment without a balcony that can handle an 850 square inch cooking area, or you prefer the quick heat up of a gas grill for weekday meals, this model probably isn't the best fit. Also, if you're not comfortable handling pellets or maintaining the hopper, the learning curve might feel like more hassle than it's worth. A practical weakness that often surfaces after a few months of use is the cleaning routine. Because you're dealing with wood ash, the bottom of the fire pot and the hopper.